Who's that arm wrestler? It's Cobra Rhodes.
I am ready to arm wrestle now. Can I arm wrestle now?
Who's that arm wrestler? It's Cobra Rhodes.
I am ready to arm wrestle now. Can I arm wrestle now?
Is John Brzenk also the left-handed greatest of all time? It's nearly universal. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you might be. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday. Welcome to the Arm Historian Live, as always, coming to you on Sunday. Let's see who's in chat here. Ivan, how you doing? The Drew, what's up, man? Good to see you. Mr. Peanuts, how you doing? Calvin Jones, also in chat. How are you guys? Let's get some music going here, shall we? Here we go. Gonna turn it down a bit on my end. There we go. How are all you guys doing? So what's on the docket for today? We're gonna talk a bit about East versus West. It'll be a short stream, a little shorter than usual because I have quite a few things to do. But yeah, we'll dive right into it. Instead of going over like every single match, although we will be talking about most matches, but instead of going over every single match, I kind of want to get a feel for what you guys thought about the event. Did you like the event? How many of you watched it? I'm going to start a poll right now to kind of get a feel for that. Did you buy the pay-per-view? Of course, I know for some people that's a different question than did you actually watch the event. But I'm still quite interested in seeing how many people bought the pay-per-view. There's a couple of results that I want to touch on for sure that were quite surprising to me. And then in general, I kind of want to get a sense on what you guys thought of the production value, stuff like that as well. For those of you that have watched the live quite a bit before, you know I kind of am always interested in that, sometimes even more so than the matches themselves. Anthrax Baru, how you doing? Your boy Mitch, what's up, man? Good to see you. Mitch says, I was out yesterday but bought the annual pass and watched it this morning for free. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I saw there was an annual pass there that they were selling, which is quite interesting. I'll probably be buying that myself too, because I buy nearly all the events, so why wouldn't I, right? Even managed to avoid spoilers. Well, this is a spoiler warning for those of you that still haven't watched the matches and don't want to be spoiled. You might want to put this stream on watch later, because we will be going over some match results, obviously. Yeah, let's take a quick look at the subreddit, the arm wrestling subreddit. I usually go over this one kind of to get a feel of what people are thinking, and I think we can jump on a couple of points people brought up here. One of the things that I see being talked about a lot right now within the entire arm wrestling community is Morozov versus Devon. Of course, this wasn't a match in the event, but this is a match for the upcoming East versus West event that is set. Devon Larratt versus Artyom Morozov on the left arm. Very interesting. My initial reaction is Artyom Morozov should have this in the bag, but then again, I don't know if he's still injured or how he's dealing with his injury, how he has recovered in the past few months, stuff like that. I don't know. I see a lot of people talking about it though, so I'm quite interested in seeing what you guys think of this matchup. Do you think it'll be worth it to have this match, or do you think it's just a way to get Devon on the card somehow? Anthrax Baru says it was a much shorter event than usual, went by fast. Yeah, I think in general that's a good thing. I quite liked a lot of the matches that I saw. Although I do think, and I'll just be upfront about this, production-wise, it was a little bit of a step back here and there. I saw a couple of small errors that I think they didn't quite, they didn't happen last event. So to me, it was a little bit of a step back production-wise. Also, like, the venue looked fine, but it did seem a little cheaper than usual. I don't know if that was really the case, but that's what it looked like to me, at least. Yeah, this match, we'll jump right into this match because I think one of the big surprises of the night, at least for me, and I think for a lot of other people too, was this match. I watched the post-match interview and it seemed like Paul Lynn was a bit surprised as well, or at least Coach Ray was. I was kind of projecting that on Paul Lynn a little bit. But yeah, this one surprised me. Bogdan Stoica took the win over Paul Lynn in what I saw to be quite dominant fashion. Wasn't super one-sided. Like, it's not like Paul Lynn was without any chances, obviously, but Bogdan Stoica did end up taking the win versus the White Orc Paul Lynn. Hey TOS Move, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Get your votes in if you bought the pay-per-view. I'm very interested to see how many of you actually bought this pay-per-view for East vs West 21. Ivan says the extended pay-per-view was a bit of a disappointment. That's another thing I want to touch on because I personally didn't go for the extended pay-per-view. Like, for those that don't know, there was an option of buying extra post-event practice pools. Personally didn't go for it just because practice pools usually don't interest me that much. But yeah, I did see quite a bit of people that did buy into it, so I'm very curious, those that did, like you, what did you think? Ivan, for example, what were your thoughts on it? You seem a little disappointed. Anthrax Baru says it was a solid event. More mistakes than last event. It was a bit like a step back, but the matches were great. I didn't have the professional look like the last one in Sweden. I agree. I thought the one in Sweden was, like, especially production-wise, one of the highest ones out there. And in comparison, this one fell a little short to me. But as far as matches went, yeah, they managed to grip me, and I thought there were a lot of great matches in there. I also thought, like, okay, for those that don't know, they did a tournament before the event, and I believe two winners of two weight classes, they put them up against each other and kind of added an extra match to the main event, which was another Bornman, Rickard Borman's brother, I'm blanking on his first name now, maybe someone can fill me in, versus Curtis Cameron, aka Pork Chop, of Ottawa High Hooker fame, of course. Yeah, very interesting match between Bornman's brother, Duval, I believe is his name. Duvan, yeah, Duvan. Thank you, Calvin Jones. Yeah, interesting match, that one. I thought Curtis would take it very easily, especially since there was a bit of disparity in the weight classes. I believe Curtis Cameron pulls in the 115s and Duvan pulled in the 105s, kilograms that is. So yeah, I thought Curtis would take the match easily, but it ended up being kind of a nail biter. And Duvan did really well, I think, especially considering he's like 17 years old, which, yeah, that's crazy. Porkchop did take the win in the end, just to be real here. Porkchop did end up winning that match. But yeah, pretty close. Especially considering, like, it was still a really good match, especially considering that both of these guys pulled in a tournament the day before. You know what I mean? Really interesting that they did that, and that they added that match to the actual card. I think personally, good decision. It shows a clear pathway to how you can get on the card. Just go to the event and enter in the tournament right before the main event, and you could have a chance to actually pull on East versus West, you know? I don't think there were any real requirements. I think it was an open tournament, as far as I'm aware. So yeah, really interesting that they did that. It shows that any one of you guys watching the live stream right now, even if you're good enough, you can get on East versus West just by going to the event and winning the tournament. So yeah, thought that was an interesting decision, but a very good one. Yeah, it's crazy Devon is that good at 17, I agree. Anthrax Baru says, I saw some people were live streaming the after pools, so like, why even spend more money on it? I wasn't even aware of that. I did see some footage of the after pools afterwards from some other people, but I wasn't aware that they were actually live streaming it. Which I guess they might, like, in the future, might try to stop that from happening. But that is a good point that you make there, like, why would you pay money for that if you can actually watch other people that are actually present at those after pools live stream it, right? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Let me grab a quick drink of water here. He's gonna do awesome at WAF, says your boy Mitch. Did he talk about going to the WAF? No, there was some talk about that in like the pre-event like interview live stream, which I kind of like too. I like the format that they're going for. I know they did a very similar thing at the previous East versus West in Switzerland. They kind of did a 4 or 5 hour live stream where they cycled through athletes in a very casual format. Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. I also watched the press conference, which I thought was fine. Didn't really see anything wrong with that. Like the setup they have there of like 2 rows of athletes. Bob Anderson says, I guess we can see Ryan Bowen on a future East versus West card. He won the East versus West 18 tournament in Chicago. Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, I'm assuming there were several weight classes, right? So, I think one thing they can maybe improve is be more clear about who of your finalists or like who of the winners is actually going to be able to pull in the event. Like, maybe they can solve it by doing an overall class, like all the winners of all the weight classes in an overall class, something like that. I don't know. But yeah, probably they need to find a way where they can be a little more clear in communicating how you can actually get to the main event by participating in the tournament, because I'm assuming a lot of other people won their weight class too, but they didn't get a chance to participate in the event. So what's that all about, right? Calvin Jones says, I bought the annual pass, decent value. I don't want this promotion to stop. Yeah, I'm there with you. I don't want it to stop either. Yeah, I hope East versus West sticks around for a really long time. Excuse me. I hope they stick around for a really long time, and I hope they turn some kind of profit. How much that profit is right now, or if there even is some kind of profit, I don't know. Last time I heard they were still running at a loss, but hey, at least it's not Georgia versus World, right? Mindy was funny, saying he didn't want to have a good match to entertain people, he just wanted to win. Yes, Mindaugas won over Daniel Prokopchik. I'll get that out of the way. Mindaugas ended up winning that match. We might as well jump into one of the main matches of the event, or maybe the main match. I think a lot of people are calling this one like one of the best matches of the year. if not of the past several years even. I saw people saying this is their new favorite match. Personally, it wasn't my new favorite match, but there were a couple of rounds in there that I really enjoyed, which is Jerry Caderet versus Kamil Jablonski. I think Jerry did some things there that really surprised people. One of them being, like you can see here, Jerry going into a full-blown King's move. Which is crazy, you know. I wouldn't expect to see in my lifetime Jerry Caderet going into a King's move. But I guess the answer to what happens if two floppers, dedicated flopper pressers face each other is one of them goes into a King's move. Apart from that round, I do think Kamil had the upper hand here in this match. He did end up winning the match as well. Very impressive versus Jerry there. It's not like Jerry was completely out of the match, but I feel like in a lot of angles that they tried, because we did see a lot of angles between these two guys on the table, Kamil just had the upper hand here. Like, I heard in the post-match interview, Jerry was talking about, like, what actually happened during the match from his perspective. And apart from some iffy ref calls, which I do have to admit there were a couple of iffy ref calls, Jerry talked about how Kamil gave him basically nothing during the setup, which didn't allow Jerry to already engage his side pressure and kind of get in there the way he usually would want to. So very smart pulling from Kamil. I think he did a really great job there and deserves the win in the end. Ivan says that King's move was next level. Yeah, I agree. Really crazy seeing Jerry pull out a King's move and even doing it successfully. Especially transitioning from an outside move like that to a full-blown press is, yeah, not a lot of people can do that. Not an easy thing to do, especially at this level. Steve says Mindy was sick a few days before. He was just focusing on winning rather than being entertaining. Kind of out of character for him, because usually when he's pretty dominant in matches, he does focus on giving the audience quite a show. But I can get why he wouldn't do that in this case for sure. Bob Anderson says, I've been saying that you will see a King's move in the Jerry versus Kamil match. Well, must be some kind of clairvoyant, because I did not expect that at all. Ivan says that tongue work was otherworldly also. Love to see me some Jerry Caderet tongue. I think, yeah, Jerry Caderet tongue is always a treat, right? More talk about Morozov versus Larratt here. We should talk about the Michael match too, right? At a certain point. Yeah, here, more talk about Jerry versus Kamil. Really, a lot of versatility shown by these two guys. Something I don't think a lot of people were expecting. On the other hand, the Cvetkov versus Todd match, I think kind of went more like people expected it to go. Obviously, Cvetkov's still very strong, and that was very clear. But Michael, relying on his usual move, managed to eke out a win there. So yeah, impressive by Michael. I'm always a fan of Michael when he pulls on the table. So yeah, really awesome. Talking about Jerry Tongue here. Anthrax says Mike might actually be onto something. Dude looks locked in. Reminded me of when Mike was in the WAL. Yeah, I can see that. It's interesting, you know, because I think this means Michael will get a shot at Levon, right? At a certain point. That's kind of what's going around through the grapevine right now. It'll be interesting. I've long been a proponent of that match. I've been wanting to see it, even like after the whole King of the Table where Devon beat Michael Todd very convincingly, I was still one of the people that wanted to see the Levon versus Michael match. I think something people sometimes underestimate is if you've got experience pulling against a certain person, if you've got a lot of experience, which Devon had a lot of experience pulling versus Michael already throughout his career, also off like the official stage. I think that does a lot. A lot goes into that, you know. If you know how a person feels, it's way easier to adapt in future matches. And people tend to forget that. And I think Devon in particular is really good at that, specifically. So Devon beating Michael convincingly and then Levon beating Devon convincingly doesn't necessarily mean that Levon will be able to defeat Michael convincingly. Although I do have to say, like, personally, if I had to put money on it, I would bet on Levon still. I mean, I think that goes without saying at this point. But that doesn't mean I don't want to see the match. I really do, and I've been wanting to see that match for like years now. So yeah, I'm hoping we get to see that match soon, and I hope it'll be a good match. I hope Michael comes in some kind of before unseen shape, Michael 100.0 or whatever it is, and yeah, just beats Devon. By the way, anyone catch that during the press conference? I can't really remember who referred to Michael as that. I think it was Devon who called Michael Michael 66.6 or something, or 6.66. I don't know if Michael quite appreciated that, being a very religious man as far as I can tell. But it was quite funny to me. I see some discussion about King's Move being a bone lock and stuff. I think a bone lock can play into a King's Move. Does that mean it should be illegal? Or does that mean it can be beaten if it is supported by a bone lock in some cases? Nah. I've always been of the opinion that a bone lock is just one of your physical attributes that you can bring to the table, right? And if you're complying with the rules, the before set rules, then I think utilizing that bone lock to a certain degree should be legal and is totally fine in my opinion. That's just me though. I know a lot of people have very strong opinions on that. Yeah, Phil Woody, I agree. MMP 6.6 was brilliant. Yeah, I also enjoyed the event, Phil Woody. In general, I think it was a really good event. It overperformed, in my opinion. Like I said, some of the production value was a little lower than I would have liked to have seen, comparatively to the previous event especially. I think they kind of dropped the ball on a couple of minor things. But as far as the matches went and like the general feel of the event, it overperformed, for me at least. Vladimir bought the event, it seems interesting. Right now it's at 50-50 the poll, so half of you bought the event, half of you didn't buy the event, which is very interesting to me. Your boy Mitch says, honestly, I think the muscles and ligaments will give out way before the arm in the King's Move, like how Levon tore Devon's bicep. Yeah, like I said, having a bone lock, not being able to completely straighten your arm, is just a physical attribute of a puller, right? Phil Woody says, how come Jerry got a King's Move foul free pass? Yeah, like what we're looking at here, in my opinion, isn't a foul. Jerry wasn't in losing position here. He does have a declined humerus, like you can see, but he wasn't in a losing position, so totally fair. His elbow seems to be above the pad, on the pad, which is also within the rules. So what Jerry is doing here wasn't outside of the rules, in my opinion. But let's scroll up a little bit. What we see here, that's a little more dubious, you know what I mean? This one, I would argue, is a foul, or at least should have been. But yeah, I don't know, maybe it's because they had a couple of calls that were like not to Jerry's benefit before, that were kind of iffy, that they kind of were a little more lenient with his use of the King's Move in this case. I don't know. what the reasoning is there. But yeah, I do see what you're saying there, Phil Woody. Lagia Arms is in terms of the arm wrestling itself, I enjoyed it more than East vs. West 20. Yeah, I can see that, for sure. Anthrax Baru says he sees Lavan just overpowering MMT's King's move, just like breaking his arm off. Effie, how you doing, says damn, I completely lost interest for arm wrestling, which is crazy considering how into it I was not so long ago. I think that makes sense to me. Other than it's a natural ebb and flow with most things in people's lives, especially if you get into something at a very rapid rate, you also get burned out on it way more quickly, or move away from it more quickly. So I can see that as just a natural thing. That being said, I also think some things that happened within the arm wrestling community during the last year played into that for sure. But yeah, I can see that. I've had periods where I was more interested in arm wrestling and then became a little less interested and so on. It's just because I practice the sport myself and I do that on a weekly basis with my friends. I think it's easier for me to kind of keep getting into the sport, keep getting sucked back into the sport, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely don't fault you for falling out of love with arm wrestling at a certain point. I can totally get why that would happen. If you scroll down, there's a pic of Georgie completely taking MMT's pronator. Yes, I did see that one. Georgie, like I said, man, really strong. Managed to completely turn Michael Palm up, which is not an easy thing to do. Still, Michael managed to eke out a win here. Georgie said beforehand that he would rely completely on his top roll because there wasn't a lot of use of him trying to develop his press so late in the game, so to speak. He didn't see a lot of point to trying to practice his press really hard. Maybe if he did a little bit more, he would have been able to take the win here. I don't know. Anthrax Baru says, if an event does not have pullers that I'm personally invested in, I probably won't buy the event. MMT and Jerry were the only reasons I bought the pay-per-view. Yes, I can definitely see that. Excuse me. I think, and I've talked about this many times before, the characters are really what makes sports like this. Although you can certainly appreciate the athleticism that goes into it or the raw power on display. Those are other things that are very appealing to people. The pure physicality of it. Also the technical aspects of the sport are personally appealing to me because I practice the sport myself. I kind of have a feeling for what goes into it to a certain degree. But I think the main draw for most people is going to be the characters of the athletes themselves. I think that makes a lot of sense. Your boy Mitch says, I'm completely in love with arm wrestling. Getting around 8 cards a year stacked with the best pullers in the world and titles on the line is awesome. I do agree. I think a lot of people lose sight of where arm wrestling was at, not even 5 years ago or before COVID. I think a lot of people kind of got used to getting that many events with that many of the top pullers from around the world competing against each other. Has not really been seen in arm wrestling that much before. So yeah, it makes sense that it's a new normal and people get used to it and are expecting more and more. But on the other hand, I think it's important not to lose sight of the fact that arm wrestling is at a really good point right now if you're into the sport already. If you're already invested in the sport, if you're already following kind of the careers of these guys, arm wrestling is in a really good spot right now. That being said, I do think, and I've mentioned this many times before, we need to change some things in order to get new people also as invested into the sport, get a bigger influx of new people and more casual viewers, so to speak. But yeah, I do think if you're into arm wrestling already, can't really complain about this, right? Phil Woody says, when Levon hits Michael, I believe that image will be very similar to the stop. Yep. Might be the case. Like I said, I can't wait to see that match. I want to see it. Almost more than any other match. Obviously, Devon versus Larratt is one I'm looking forward to, but Michael versus Levon is one that I want to see badly. Effie says, both Devon and Engin bombing Reddit and Discords, they feel so empty now. Yeah, I do think a lot of the drama of the last year kind of took the wind out of people's sails in that regard. Yeah, I don't know. It's up to like content creators, and I'm speaking for myself too. I can do more for the sport. I think it's up to content creators to kind of revitalize the community sometimes. When the lulls are happening in between events. That's my opinion. Mr. Fightbot says, if Michael struggles with the hit of Svetkov, Vitali, or Hermes, I think Levon might just flash pin. Yeah, I can definitely see that. On the other hand, it might be a cliche, but styles do make matches, you know what I mean? I just want to see it. I just want to see Levon having to deal with a dedicated King's mover. I know Devon is good at the King's move and has tried to utilize that versus Levon, but I do think Michael's King's move is on a different level still, and the way he would approach that match is still way different than Devon would. I'm not saying like he has a big chance versus Levon, because I think Levon will still beat him quite convincingly. I'm just saying I want to see it. It's been way too long that people have spoken about this match. I want to see it. Bob Anderson says thoughts on Shveta and Gashevsky potentially going on East vs West, perhaps against Mindaugas. Hey man, I'd love it. I've seen Dexter, I believe, or Robert touching upon that briefly, which I think is a step in the right direction. I'd love to see Shvetan on the table. There's like a couple of people that you don't really see at these big events, be it for political reasons behind the scenes, like their involvement or falling out with the WAF, all kinds of reasons that there might be. For a lot of people to just not be at these big events that should be there, right? And I think Shvetan Gashevsky is like one of the prime examples of those kinds of people. So yeah, I'd love to see that, for sure. For sure. I don't know about consistent, Effie. Like, I drop the ball with my upload schedule, and sometimes, like, you know what I mean, life just takes over and I have so little time. I have like bursts where I have a lot of time to put into content creation, and I have a lot of inspiration for videos, but then other periods like the last month or something where I had very little time. So yeah, I don't know if I'd call it consistent, but I try. The new rankings, what do you guys think of this, by the way? Very interesting. Kamil Jablonski, number 5 right now. We'll talk about this match briefly too. Ayane Takenaka versus Victoria Carlson. Ayane ended up winning the match 3-1 versus Victoria. Pretty good match. I enjoyed it. I think it's great to see a Japanese puller, especially Ayane, because like the Japanese pullers, when they get really into a match, they're not afraid to show it, and I think that's awesome. So I'm really happy for her victory here, and I hope we get to see a lot more of her, for sure. Having Jerry that high is weird, says Ivan. Yeah, I can see that. Jerry hasn't been exactly on a roll lately, has he? I still think he deserves to be somewhere in the top 10, probably. But yeah, I can definitely see why you would say that. Consistent for arm wrestling standards. Yeah, thanks, Effie. I'll take that one. Vladimir says, yes, Jerry is clearly sitting too high in the rankings. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that. Let's take a quick look at the comments here. Minhale, which is one of the Reddit moderators, says it's a very flawed ranking. Whoever made this ranking probably forgot that both Mike and Morozov beat Camille as recently as last year. So both of them should objectively be ranked higher than Camille. And he offers his own ranking here, which puts Jerry at number 8, which puts Camille at number 7. So yeah, interesting there. A lot of people agreeing with him, I see. I saw some people kind of proposing they should go with an ELO ranking, which for those that don't know is kind of the chess ranking. You get points based on who you beat, and that kind of increases your own ranking, which I wouldn't be opposed to seeing that. I think it would encourage more pulling, more frequent pulling. It wouldn't necessarily result in super accurate rankings on a short time frame, but I do think in the long run it might lead to pretty decent ranking. Hey, thanks for reminding the people to hit the like button. I do appreciate that, Phil. Seeing Jerry here. Seeing Jerry in a Kings movie is like blowing my mind still. Mr. Green would like to see Jerry versus Alex. I think that would be a good match. I agree. Yeah, the Drew. I saw that. I saw that system before. Also, you might not know, Igor Mazurenko. I forgot the name of it, but Igor Mazurenko tried something very similar, but couldn't really get it off the ground. But yeah, he did try something similar with introducing his own kind of ELO system for arm wrestling rankings. Bob Anderson says Ryan Bowen is 9,000 ELO, over 9,000 for sure. Bob Anderson. Lagia Arms says, I'm not too concerned about the rankings. It's not like it affects the matchmaking too much. We'll still get the matches that make sense at the end of the day. I agree. I don't think it should be something we're like super hung up on. But I do think in general, people coming into the sport will want to take a look at rankings. And I think it's important that they make some amount of sense, right? I think that's just inherently with competitive sports like this, especially like one-on-one sports, that it's important to give people an idea of who is the quote-unquote best in the world right now, who is the second, who is the third, things like that. I do think it makes sense to have it to some degree at least, and to discuss it also. Here, the Borman brothers. So, we'll touch on Rickard Borman, who faced Schoolboy, both on the left and the right arm. He lost versus Schoolboy on the left arm and won versus Schoolboy on the right arm. I think both athletes are right arm dominant, if I'm not mistaken, so I think the right arm bears a little more significance. But yeah, really well done on Rickard. I didn't expect him to beat Schoolboy so convincingly on the right. So yeah, well done on him for sure. Jacoby says, pretty great event. I agree. I enjoyed it. Testo says, Ryan Bowen is the undisputed GOAT, but just can't make the weight class. It's funny to me how, like, some things will keep following Ryan Bowen until the end of time. I'm convinced about that. Like, other things don't. Like, I feel like there's been way more controversial things that you can blame Ryan Bowen for, apart from not making that weight class, although that was pretty egregious in my opinion. Kind of the way he dealt with it was a little weird in my opinion. But I think there's bigger things that you can fault Ryan Bowen for, but people just don't mention them. I won't be mentioning them here. If you want to know what they are, take a look at my Rise and Fall video on Ryan Bowen. I go over them in pretty big detail there, but yeah, I do think it's funny how some things seem to follow Ryan wherever he goes, and then other things get completely ignored by people. The Drew says 6 months ago I thought Recruit would beat Schoolboy easy, but after I saw Schoolboy leveling up, I thought it might be closer, but still thought Recruit would win. Okay, that makes sense to me. King's move Jerry isn't real, he can't hurt you. I do love the memes in the arm wrestling world. There are some good ones out there. Another person talking about the rankings here. Devon Larratt versus Artyom Morozov. Yeah, I also saw this happening, not at East versus West, but just a quick aside. A 16-year-old beating Carolina Peterson using raw power. Very impressive. Just powering through there, although that position seems pretty dangerous to me, but yeah, if it works, right? Very impressive. Just a quick aside there. The new Flop King, yes indeed. What were some other matches? Like I talked about Bogdan Stoica and Paul Lin very briefly, which is a match that surprised me a lot. Mindaugas beating Prokopchik pretty handily, who was a little bit expected. I saw by viewers in the previous live stream. I think most people expected that to happen. But what were some other matches that kind of surprised you? I think Michael Todd versus Georgie was kind of expected the way it went down. Here's someone calling the Camille versus Jerry match of the year. Here's someone saying, you know why this was one of the best events? Baxter didn't speak before the main event. Truly the greatest decision in recent times. Yeah, a lot of people are saying, whether you agree with it or not, a lot of people are saying Robert Baxter kind of drains the energy from whichever event he speaks at. Here you see a screenshot of Bornman versus Schoolboy on the right arm, which, yeah, just too much for Schoolboy, it seemed. Which is crazy, you know, because Schoolboy has been pulling from a very young age and has been very active in the scene. And I don't think Borman has been pulling that long. So yeah, really interesting to see these two young guys coming up in the sport still. Are we looking at the future of our sport here right now in these two guys? Might be the case. Your boy Mitch's match of the year was Sonev versus Prudnik. Yeah, that's another match. Was interesting to see for sure. I believe Sonev won that one if I'm not mistaken. Testo says, sometimes I'm scared to look under my table. I think one day I will run into Michael Todd. The good old under the tabler joke there coming in from Testo, reminding us of the good old days. Vladimir says, I like Robert talking. He also improves much in stage. I don't mind Robert. I think in general, Robert as well as Dexter have been doing a good job. They've been addressing, like, it doesn't matter too much to me how they present themselves or how they speak. I think a lot of people blame Robert Baxter for being kind of laid back and low energy. But I do think you have to give them some credit for speaking on certain topics that previous people in management wouldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole. So just a quick example, the Shvetangashevsky matter. if you mentioned that in some previous live streams, I think you would get banned. You know what I mean? I don't think that's happening anymore. You can be pretty upfront, it seems, with Robert Baxter and Dexter Tan about your feelings towards certain things within the arm wrestling community and within East versus West. And I think they're all in all pretty cool about it and pretty transparent about that. Do I think they can still improve on some things, being more open and straightforward with some things? Of course. You're never going to get that to the level that you really want, unfortunately. But I do think they're a big improvement on some previous management. Let's put it that way. I think people can read between the lines when I say that, right? Yeah, I agree. Like, yeah, arm timing has a lot to do with that, for sure. Michael crashing out at John Brezink is one of my favorite arm wrestling moments, says Testo. Another really good one is Jerry and... Let me quickly see if I can pull it up. Like Jerry and John Brezink in an after pull. This is a quick aside. I know it's a tangent, but I think we're fine to do those a little bit. I made a short on it. Let's take a quick look here. I think I have it on my Instagram somewhere. For those of you that don't follow me on Instagram yet, I encourage you to do that if you want to get a little more arm historian content. I do try to put out some things that I don't do on my main channel. Where did I put that? Was it this one? No. There was like this after pull of Jerry Caderet and John Brezink. Yeah, I think it's this one. Really funny. Their interaction here. I'll stop the music for a second here and let you guys hear along. Yeah, I thought it was a really funny one. Atmosphere during the after pulls was courteous at first, but after a while developed somewhat of an undercurrent of tension.
I'm sitting here and I'm coming out like this, and you're coming out like this.
I'm trying to hang on to you, and then your camera.
My fingers are still here.
If I try to top roll like, if I top roll like you do, okay, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, that was you. That was you. That was you. All right. Hold on. I'll hang on. Hold on.
How come you can't hang on to me? What are you doing? I'm never slipping away. How come you're slipping away?
Because you're being a bitch.
You and me, we're on, buddy.
And he's
That's sad, because you have no arm strength.
The atmosphere. Bob Brown and Richard Lupke's looking on in the back. Really funny moments like this. Yeah. Kind of a quick aside there. Get the music going again. The transparency is the best thing they've brought to the organization, says the Drew. I do agree, yeah. But in general, I think production-wise, something I'm always looking at, of course. They're doing quite well, too. I don't think the matchmaking has suffered. Also, I think in general, it's an improvement. But yet, Testo, that is one of my favorite moments. With John Brezink crashing out. If you can call it that. Yeah, I don't know if I expected this side. Yeah, little stuff like this kind of irks me because like it's so easy to avoid, and these things do get noticed by people, believe it or not. Unfortunate. I think in the Switzerland event I didn't see any of this. Like, I think there were a couple of minor mistakes with like the stat cards. That's something that they can't get right either for some reason. But like, I didn't see any of this in Switzerland, and like the PAL updates and stuff were way more timely in the Switzerland event compared to this one. So in general, production wise, a little bit of a step back, but as far as the matches went, greatly enjoyed it. Angry John versus Matt Mask, that's a good one. That's a good one too. But yeah, all in all, great event, I think. Really successful event. I'm very curious about how the preliminary matches did. I didn't have a chance to see it live, not a lot of them anyways. So I'm very curious viewer-wise. Like, does anybody know? Did anyone see it live, the preliminary matches on YouTube, and did it say how many viewers were actually watching them? Think it got up to like 3K, says Mr. Fightbot. Interesting, okay. 3K. Let me take a quick look right now what the viewer numbers are on that preliminary card. I'm assuming it's still just live, right? Let me take a quick look here. Just these things interest me, just to get kind of an idea on how arm wrestling is doing, right, as a sport. Free preliminaries, East versus West 21. I'll share it with you guys here. Obviously, I won't show the footage. You can go to East versus West YouTube channel if you want to watch it. But yeah, kind of to get an idea. Where do I see the numbers here? 83K viewed, so pretty good. Not bad. Not bad, 83. That reminds me, something else I wanted to show you guys. I think it was on Benji Mac's channel. Hang on here. Benji Mac is getting a lot of flack for this one. Take a look at this. Hang on. See the viewer numbers for East versus West 21 After Pulse. A live stream for the After Pulse, 8 hours. 710K views. Can you imagine? Doesn't seem real, right? Very little comments. I've watched it with very little comments. I kind of have my doubts if that's legit, you know. I don't want to put anything on Benji Mac here. I appreciate him doing this. I appreciate his involvement in the sport, stuff like that. But it is pretty weird to see because, like, judging by the amounts of likes and the amount of comments, looks a little iffy to me. Like, I want to be a believer, but looks a little iffy. It's a YouTube thing. Don't blame Benji for YouTube being odd, says Calvin Jones. It might be. It might be. I don't know what kind of YouTube thing that would be, where you get like 10K viewers. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that they were using the vertical live stream function, which does pull some more people in usually. I am aware of that, but like, you would expect the numbers to be different, right? I don't get, like, if it is a weird YouTube thing, which weird YouTube thing is it? I'm not accusing him of anything because, like, even if those views were botted, it doesn't mean he's botting those views, right? It doesn't mean he's the one doing that. So even if they were botted, which I'm not saying they are, but even if they were, it doesn't mean Benji Mac is doing it. You know what I mean? But it is something that's a little iffy to me. In 12 hours, them getting 10K views on an 8-hour live stream looks weird. Let me put it that way. It looks weird. Jacobin says the vertical is annoying. Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind them vertically live streaming it or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, YouTube handles like the impressions differently with vertical live streams. I've noticed they like push it out to more people who aren't necessarily that deep into what you're actually showing. So I do believe you can get more exposure that way. Yeah, I get that, Drew. It's legit. It's all YouTube algo. I don't... Like, I get that there's some of that factoring into it, but like... YouTube isn't gonna just push your live stream because it's a vertical live stream. They do to some degree, but like at a certain point, they need to see other analytics that would keep them pushing it onwards and onwards, you know? And if you're talking about crazy big numbers, like 710k views in 12 hours on an 8-hour live stream, YouTube needs other metrics to keep pushing it like that. So, I don't know, I don't think it's just a vertical live stream. I'm sure that played into it to a certain degree, but I don't think that's all. Testo says, who is ARM Historian's favorite ARM wrestler? Good question. Changes so much. I'm a big Unger Bayev fan, but he's not been active for quite a while now, so I love me some Michael Todd on the table. Love just how he pulls. Like, I know that's a hot take or a controversial opinion to a lot of people, but I'm always entertained by a Michael Todd match. Always. Hey, the Lucky Ones podcast. What's up, man? Or woman, sorry. Good to see you. Good to see you. The Drew says most of the views were during the live, not afterwards. That makes sense to me too, yeah. Yeah, Mr. Green, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. And like I said before, I'm not saying views were botted. I'm just saying it looks weird, you know what I mean? It looks strange to me. Like, and even, like I said, even if there was some botting going on, which I'm not saying there was, but even if there was botting going on, that's not something you can put on Benji Mac, you know what I mean? Work that algo good. Yeah, like I said, there's more that goes into it. Like, YouTube does push vertical live streams more, I am aware of that. But it doesn't just give you like thousands and thousands of live viewers for nothing, you know what I mean? It's not gonna do that when you don't hit certain thresholds of like view time, average view time, click-through rate, stuff like that. It's not gonna keep doing that, you know what I mean? Yeah, I do agree the algo is very weird and does weird things for sure. Antrax Baru says, did the live on YouTube go on the Shorts tab? For me, that's the only way to see new live streams when I scroll on mobile. I don't know. I actually don't ever use the Shorts tab on YouTube. I consume very little short content in general. Yeah. Sometimes I scroll on Instagram for like a couple minutes, but that's about it as far as shorts content goes for myself. So yeah, take what I say with a grain of salt, because I'm not like super invested in shorts content, and I've only experimented very briefly myself with shorts content. Testo says, I would have wanted to see Yevgeny win yesterday. Yeah, I hear you. I want to see Prutnik do well again. I know a lot of people are speculating kind of like he's off cycle and stuff like that. I don't know what the reason is that he's not performing as well as he did before. I know at a certain point Prutnik's stock was that high that a lot of people had him at like the overalls in a pretty big ranking, so yeah. Yeah, for sure, Mr. Green. There are tactics to it, for sure. Yeah, there are. I didn't get the stream recommended on my PC page. Yeah, it's... like, the more you try to figure out the YouTube algorithm, the less you can really the less you really know, or the more you kind of realize that it's an ever-changing thing, and something that works last year might not work again this year, and that just kind of people's viewing behavior goes into that, and a lot of other factors. Like I said, I've had videos with very good click-through rate and very good watch time that didn't perform quite as well, which I can only speculate why that is, but intuitively you would think it would be the other way around, right? So yeah, I have, like, when I look at my own analytics, 1/3 of it is on mobile, 1/3 of it is on TV, believe it or not, and 1/3 of it is on PC. So yeah, pretty diverse. I know a lot of other people have been having more traffic from mobile exclusively, but for my channel that isn't necessarily the case that much. I do have quite a bit of mobile viewers, obviously, but a lot of people still watch my content on PC and on TV, on smart TVs. I was very like surprised how many people are actually watching YouTube content on their smart TV. Goddamn Stoika. I want to quickly touch on one of the other preliminary matches, by the way, which was my guy Jason Merlot versus I always blank on his name, and I wish I didn't. The Israeli guy Shtayan. I'm blanking on his name. I'm not gonna try. Somebody will remind me in chat, I'm sure. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for more. It seemed like Jason Merlot had a lot of control in outside of the straps, but once it went into the strap, like Sterengas, thank you, Mr. Fightbot. Sterengas kind of took over, right? So yeah. Yeah, the Drew said, but yeah, I asked Benji what was the view time on just that last live stream, since I'm guessing many just 1 minute and left. But the thing is, if your average view duration is short, YouTube will not keep pushing it out to people. So if you want to get to like high view numbers, your average view time needs to be pretty high, because YouTube is, as far as I'm aware, prioritizing view time almost higher than click-through rate. So the view time would have to be quite well, which means that not all those viewers will just be 1 minute and gone people, because then YouTube will just stop pushing it. YouTube prioritizes people staying on the platform, and the longer you can do that, the more they will push videos. A lot of my better performing videos are videos that have a very high average view duration. Not necessarily the highest click-through rate. So yeah, YouTube is right now prioritizing videos that keep people on the platform longer and keep people on your video longer. Which does mean that a lot of those viewers, if YouTube pushes it to like 600-700K, like was the case with the live stream, a lot of those viewers would have to have stuck around for longer than a minute, you know what I mean? Yeah, Mayan Sterengas, I'm sure I'll be saying that name a bunch more in the future, because that guy looked really strong. Like, in straps, I'm sorry to say, Jason Merlot didn't stand a chance. Which I'm a big Jason Merlot fan. But yeah, outside of straps, he looked really good. Like, he had hand control, but he just couldn't keep him from slipping. And yeah, led to a very convincing win for Sterengas there. Desto says, can someone please donate a kidney to Denis Siplenkov so he can consume another bar of uranium? I can watch him pull again. Yeah. I hope Denis Siplenkov lives a long and prosperous life. I hope he has some more matches in him, of course. I want to see him pull as much as the next guy. But I hope he prioritizes his health above anything else right now. That's just my opinion, though. Let me quickly check if Neil Pickup is going live soon with the fix. I kind of doubt it, since Probably still kind of recovering from the event. Let me quickly check if he's going live, or if he has a live planned here. I don't see one, so I'm guessing he won't be going live. He sometimes skips the fix when he had to like go to a big event like East versus West, which I completely understand. 10% long retention viewers to keep pushing too. Since all that I see, this mobile YouTube thing runs by different rules and they won't tell us. Yeah, that's like the 10% long retention viewers is pure speculation, right? And like I said, I'm not like super versed on what they would do with shorts or like vertical live streams, even less so. So anything we're talking about there when it comes to that is pure speculation, right? I would assume they would still value the metric of keeping people on the platform and keeping them watching as long as possible, but that doesn't mean that they value it to the same degree as they would with horizontal long-form videos, right? So yeah, I definitely see your point there. Pork chop here with Devon. Yeah, like to cap it out, I'll end it here. I enjoyed the event. If I had to lob some amount of criticism at them, the production value took a little step back, I believe, in my personal opinion. But I do really think they did a great job with this event. Yeah, and I hope there's many more to come. I'm looking forward to the next one. I hope they get on promoting that as soon as possible, getting all the matches set as soon as possible so they can really drive that promotion and that marketing. I think that's sometimes leaves a little bit to be desired still, but I'm sure they're working on that diligently. Yeah, other than that, what more is there to say? I don't think, maybe, I don't know if they're still doing the extended pay-per-view with the extra after pullings. I don't know if that's really worth it. But yeah, I think they did a bang-up job in general. Let's see here. Mr. Fightbot says, are you going to compete in the Belgian championships? Yes, I'm going to compete in the nationals, of course. Which I don't have a solid date on that yet. I wish I did so I can kind of work towards it. But last year it was in February. So yeah, I will be, as soon as they announce a date, I will be working towards that one as my next big tournament I'm going to be entering. So yeah. Yeah, Drew, that's for sure true. Another thing that a lot of people overlook with shorts, the traffic from your shorts to your long form is very minimal, and I've experienced this firsthand. Like shorts can pump your subscriber numbers up and your view count up, but the actual cross-contamination between shorts and long form is very little, because a lot of people who consume a lot of shorts don't give one F about long-form videos. They're not long-form video viewers, and vice versa. Like, when I look at my analytics, the overlap between my shorts viewers and my long-form viewers is very small. And I've seen that time and time again with other YouTube creators echoing the same sentiment. That's one of the reasons why you see so many creators creating a separate shorts channel. Because if you get people, think about it this way, if you get a lot of people subscribing because of your shorts content, and then you put out a long form video, it's going to get pushed to a lot of those subscribers that don't care about long form, and your click-through rate is going to go to the gutter, right? A lot of those people aren't going to click on the long form videos of yours that they get recommended, so your click-through rate is going to go down on that video, and YouTube will see, like, not even this guy's subscribers want to watch this video, so why would I push it even further? So I do think there is some logic to, like, why you would create a separate shorts channel, separate from your long form. But yeah, that's just what I've seen. My opinion, I guess. Yeah, I'd love to see some more content creators actually covering the event in person, and East versus West maybe investing a little bit more in getting those kinds of people involved, you know what I mean? Anthrax Bauer says, like, I think they should invite you and let you make your own unique videos for this channel. I would love to. I would love to. There is a chance that I will be going to the next East versus West event, not because I was invited, but because it's relatively close to where I live, and I might have some free time then. So I'll just spoil it here. There is a chance I might be going to that event, and of course I will be trying to make some content while I'm there if I do end up going. Nothing set in stone yet, but yeah, something to potentially look forward to there. That being said, I think we're about done here with this live stream. Keep your eyes peeled for my long form videos coming out soon. And yeah, I thank you for hanging out. I always enjoy these. Thank you everyone for joining me. Hope to see you same time, same place next week. Until then, Arm Historian, out of here. Bye bye guys.